This meeting started. Roll call, please.
Weir.
Here.
Casanello.
Here.
Ayer. Here. Lorson.
Here.
Schneider. Ramirez. Here. Morris.
Here.
Thank you.
Schneider.
Bueller. Okay. Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's just left over from grade school, which I mean, I'm so used to. I can hear myself doing it too.
Okay,
Try to
we're
hide
to the
that.
agenda items. I think I got somebody who wants to add to the agenda.
Yes, Mayor, if you could please add the community outreach liaison appointment to the agenda, I'd appreciate it.
7.
Yep, we'll make that number 7. Okay. First on the agenda is event coordinator presentation.
Okay, tonight we have with us our event coordinator, Erin Mann. So I'm going to turn the mic over to her and let her introduce herself and talk through what we're working on currently and the schedule that she's working with.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
As you know, I'm Erin Mann. It's so nice to meet everyone that I haven't yet met, so it's nice to put some faces to some names. I am so very excited to be here. I can't even express how much fun we are going to have with these events this year in Haymarket, how much we're going to support our small businesses and the efforts that we're making, and I'm just very much looking forward to the year ahead of us. So to start off with, I just wanted to go over our event schedule that we have kind of solidified for the year. April 24th will be our first big one, which is going to be the kickoff for our farmers market this year. March 29th is going to be the kickoff for our business roundtable. And then on May 7th, we're going to have our community garden launch event. On June the 18th, our Relay for Life event. August 2nd will be our National Night Out. August 20th, our summer concert. August 15th, our 33rd annual Haymarket Day. And on December 10th, our Christmas and holidays celebration. So those are our larger events for the year. And currently we have already completed one smaller event last week with the chief and some of our officers. So we've started our police community initiative where we're visiting our local preschools here in the area and either pulling local authors of children's books or just pulling books that our officers like to read as children. And those officers and the chief are going into our preschools and reading to a class or classes combined. Our first one last week was a huge success. The school had so much fun. The school got great remarks from the parents who saw it on Facebook Live. They were just very happy to have them there. So we're going to continue with that. And we're going to be coordinating with the schools to go in once a month and read to them. So every preschool in Haymarket will be visited once every 3 months. My current largest project, of course, is the farmers market because it's the one that kicks off soon, very soon. So right now, just to give y'all like a little information about what I'm seeing for the farmers market and what's going on, is we currently have 28 interested vendors that have said that and 23 of those 28 have said they for sure want to send in applications. 12 of those people of the 23 have actually sent in their applications and have confirmed that they will be vendors, both full and part-time. 7 of those 23 have said that they would like to wait until our informational meeting to decide. Our original date for the informational meeting for the farmers market was going to be tomorrow night, but we're going to reschedule until March the 15th. And we're doing that so that way we are better prepared, because this new information from these vendors, what I'm realizing is that those that are reaching out that want to wait until the informational meeting to decide is they're all new businesses. So they're not quite ready or not quite sure yet if they can make that commitment to part-time or full-time. They're not really sure what a farmer's market environment here in Haymarket would look like that for them, for their families. I had one ask if they could bring their new puppy because they just weren't sure, what that environment would be like. So they're kind of waiting for the informational meeting. So what I have decided to do for that informational meeting by pushing it a little bit is actually bring in people who can help a mentorship process along the way. We're going to offer these vendors the chance to become legitimate businesses with their licensing, their insurance, their health department inspections, VDAX inspections, anything that they may need as a new business, but that is very confusing to them. As a small business myself, I can definitely attest to the hardships of trying to understand the law and its interpretation. So I think that it's a great offering that we can give to the community of Haymarket to say, hey, rather than just come and vend with us, let us help you become the business that you want to become. Let us help you get those licenses. It's not going to be guaranteed, of course. There are no guarantees, but we're going to give you the links. We're going to give you the phone numbers. We're going to kind of show you the process. You do this first, and then you do this, rather than it feeling like a continuous circle of they're just trying to figure out what to do first, and they can never get an actual answer. So I would like to bring in some people to kind of talk to that at this meeting besides just me. Representatives from insurance companies that can talk about farming-specific insurance, vendor-specific insurance that's not really based on brick-and-mortar type of businesses to help that out. So hopefully after that informational meeting, we will get more confirmations as well. But it's looking very good for this to be kind of the start of the application process and how far we are out from the start of the market. It's looking very good for our vendors, and everyone is very excited. Most of our vendors from last year are returning that were there at the end of the season. There are 2 that we're waiting to confirm, and I've heard that they'll be confirming hopefully in the next week. So hopefully all of our vendors from last year will be back with us. And then I think that is pretty much it on the farmers market. The next kind of little project that we have going on is the Business Roundtable. So that'll be starting on March 29th. We'll be having it over here at the Hilton, hopefully. We're still coordinating and working on efforts for that and planning. We have confirmed our first guest speaker, who will be Clarice Grove from Prince William County, and she'll be specifically talking on the Prince William County COVID-19 Restore Retail Grant Program. So that is specifically for small businesses in Prince William County, and we have confirmed that it applies to Haymarket businesses as well, town of Haymarket businesses. So we would like her to talk about that grant program, what our small businesses, if they apply for it, what to expect, do they qualify for it, basically any questions. So she's going to be talking to that for our first Business Roundtable. Past that, we are kind of just looking into the future of what we would like to do with our event. So I don't have anything specific to talk to about our larger events, but if you have any questions, this is kind of where I am up to date right now. So if you have any questions on any events or who I'm talking to or what the plans are, I open up to you to ask any questions that you would like. Yes, ma'am.
Could you reiterate the dates for the Relay National Night Out and the summer concert, please?
Yes, that would be. Relay for Life will be June 18th. The National Night Out is August 2nd. And then, I'm sorry, what was the third one?
The summer concert, please.
August 20th.
Okay, thank you.
And just to note, the Relay for Life will actually be a team kind of event. We are still kind of working on the planning and the coordinating of how we're going to do it, but we're going to probably and most likely invite the community of Haymarket to come and join the town's team. And we're just kind of working on the logistics and what that would look like for that. But I think that's going to be a really fun, community engaging event.
Councilman Morris volunteers to run.
I'll fire them.
We would participate in the Prince William County Relay for Life event, and so that's the date is June 18th. So what we would do is we would build our team, council, citizens, business owners, and then it is throughout the day.
Yes, currently that's what Prince William is saying theirs will be the 24-hour, although since COVID, it has been changed
I'll hold
sometimes.
the
I think it's
stopwatch.
walking. You can walk.
Yeah, you
Okay.
can run, you can walk, or no,
I
you
think
can only
whoever
run.
shows up to the meeting late should participate.
Should be a disproportionate burden of the running, yes.
Since they already disproportionately participate in most of the events anyway.
You'll have to do it in combat boots. You should make you more comfortable.
I have plenty.
Think of it as a hike.
Other
We
questions?
want to take this
I
a
just had
moment
that
and
question.
explain our why for the Relay for Life.
So it came to our attention that, some of the community wondered why we didn't do the breast cancer walk or, aren't actively planning on doing it. And as a group, we kind of thought that really every health situation is important, and especially for our families, for all the families in the community and beyond. So instead of just focusing on one specific type of cancer, we thought that Relay for Life would be a good way to speak to all of the health issues that we have either been touched with personally through ourselves or our family, or know someone or neighbors, but then also get the community involved even more with our officers and with our town members and council members as well.
And this was, so that all of council's aware, this was a lengthy discussion that we had, Vice Mayor, Aaron, Chief, and I. So it was a collective discussion. We can certainly continue to discuss it, but at this time, this was our best solution of how we can get out there and represent some of these health concerns that we've heard our citizens come speak to us about, but also show that they're all important. It's not singularly one health issue. It is all of them. So we figured this would be a fun way to make our team and really represent Haymarket at the county level and participate in their event.
Where would that be, the event?
They're still deciding on the location. They just set the date. So times and location are still being worked on.
So within the entire event, will there be different groups associated with different causes, perhaps?
So
Do you have any idea?
in events past, yeah, kind of how we have known Relay for Life's to work is you'll have different vendors there representing different causes. You'll have different teams there representing different causes. So what we would like to do is probably create a logo or some kind of brand that represents us. But if you say your color you want to wear is purple, or it's red, or it's yellow for childhood cancer, we could get in on doing fun shirts that represent all of that, but that's the Haymarket team. So
Right.
we have a lot of different ways we can decide what exactly we want to represent, or if different people want to represent different causes, but of course they would all be within the team represented at Relay for Life.
Okay. I think that might be an interesting event. Yeah.
Since the vice mayor is heading this up, she has sensible shoes to participate
I
in?
do have sensible shoes,
Just curious, because it'd be kind of hard to do it.
though it might be funny if I were in my other shoes.
Okay.
Gonna put a cramp in
You
your
done,
style,
Bob?
but
Marchand, you go around.
I apologize for being late.
You were late?
didn't notice.
Moving on. So, so competing farmers market events, we had the one that used to be at the hospital.
Yes.
We had the one at just outside of Gainesville at the elementary school. Are those consolidating now? Are we competing? How is that working now?
I thought that they shut the one down
Yes.
at
I
the
asked.
elementary school, correct?
I asked our event coordinator.
I don't-
You can, and then I can follow up, because I have some things to say about that as well.
So the knowledge of what I know from last year, the hospital one, the older one is not currently operating how it was. That kind of went kaput. The elementary school one was canceled during COVID, so they can no longer hold it there. However, that group kind of got together early last summer and banded up to have a small farmers market in Gainesville at one of the parking lots. I've heard mixed reviews on that, on if there's multiple vendors, how that's going. So we're gonna stand strong. We're gonna keep doing our farmers market on Sundays, So we have the interest, we have the people who want to be here. Now we have the staff to do it and the effort, so we're gonna be resilient.
And then just to kind of close that up, after being in the farmer's market, as a vendor for the last 3 years at various farmer's markets, the managers and the towns that I have been in that run their own farmer's markets instead of privatizing them, they are the ones that are the most successful, and they are the ones that will always tell you you will never find a competing farmer's market. So while you may think in your heads, oh, if there's another farmer's market going on at the same time, true farmer's markets that value and are brought in and hosted by the town in which it sits never has competition. And I'm not saying because it's better, it's, people are going to come to it. I'm not saying that. It's that those towns individually do not see themselves as competition for each other. And they don't want to be. It's very much how can we all work together to bring awareness to farmers markets, to bring awareness to our local growers and producers. It's not, we need you here, we need you here right now. It's very much a community. I know personally a lot of the town farmers market managers in the area, and as soon as they heard that not only was the town of Haymarket going to continue their farmers market next year, but that I would be having a part in it, I can't tell you how many phone calls I got about how excited they are, that they know that the town is taking control of a farmers market and that they will have the same kind of benefits and values that come with that rather than a privatized one. Now, that being said, a lot of people in the community do think that when they see the town of Haymarket farmers market, that it is the one that used to be at the hospital. It had a very bad reputation. Some vendors have actually told me that last year they did not come to this one because they thought it was the same one, done by the same people and all of that. So my job all last season was saying, no, it's not. This is actually the town of Haymarket is putting this on. It's not a privatized one. It's actually being done by the town. It's in the parking lot of their town hall. So part of my job, now officially is the continuation of changing that reputation to let everyone know, not only our community, but our vendors that are in the area as well, that this is not just Haymarket Farmers Market. This is town of Haymarket's Farmers Market. So we very much want to make that distinction using social media and emails that we send out telling our community business owners to spread the word for us and stuff like that.
So your latter point was where I was going with. We had the Manassas Farmers Market. We had the Gainesville Farmers Market, that one at the hospital. If we're talking to the same people at the same time, so there's not duplicate efforts.
Yes.
And that we're efficient with it, and so.
Right. So we're not, the only one that will currently be overlapping as far as time goes is Gilbert's Corner.
Okay.
And a lot of people from Gilbert's Corner either will not make the drive down here, or I will say that they will make the drive down here because of the atmosphere in which Gilbert's Corner puts forth. So It is a privatized farmers market. It's a lot different of a feel. So people pick their markets based on their family's needs. They will drive. We had in Warrenton, as a vendor, we had a lot of people coming from Manassas and even Falls Church during actual COVID kind of lockdown during quarantine, because we did a drive-through farmers market. No one else was doing that. People could drive through and shop from their windows, and us as vendors, the market went a lot longer, traffic was awful, but the community had such an amazing response to it. So, people go to the farmers markets where they feel like community, they feel safe for their children, they feel safe as a family, and places they build those bonds with their local makers and producers. And here in Haymarket, that's exactly what we're going to have.
We did talk about at a work session this weekend about staffing and support, and hopefully promotion and signage. So hopefully you get the resources you need to make it successful. So it was a good idea to move it to the corner versus in the front.
Yes, we had a lot of complaints last year, especially from parents, with the cars coming in and out of the parking lot. I, on multiple occasions, witnessed children almost getting hit. Like if their parents did not see them within the 10 seconds, those children. So I, spoke to Emily. That was one of the first things I mentioned when we started talking about the farmers market was we need better safety measures because I knew some families were not coming back because of the safety issue. And as a mom myself, I could completely understand that. You couldn't fault them for it, but I think that having a response of changing the market, putting it over to the side and making sure that everyone is safe, including our children, is very important. And I think we'll get a good response from that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
For my own edification, can you, in a nutshell, explain the difference between the privatized ones and the town-sponsored ones?
Sure. So, for example, the town of Haymarket uses no taxpayers' dollars to run the farmers market. Manassas, they have a budget as well. I'm not completely privy to their how they run it and where all of the marketing or advertising money comes from, but the vendor fees are very high. So, and they have a lot of vendors, so that typically pays for their farmers market rather than taxpayers' dollars. The Warrenton Farmers Market, while hosted and owned by the town, a nonprofit also comes in with grant money to run and facilitate volunteers. Like Fauquier Fresh comes in to help work with the kids and promoting healthy eating and things of that nature. So the town or the county or wherever it is the farmers market is located is very invested in not necessarily making money off of the market. They're invested in building their community and making sure their businesses and their vendors are the ones making money because then they get the tax revenue, from that. When it's privatized, it's completely different. The only thing that privatized really cares about is how much money is the company that owns the farmers market making. So vendor fees are very high. There's usually a board of farmers market vendors that will, that kind of serve as the market managers, so to speak. They kind of make the final decisions for the company that owns the farmers market, but it is more revenue focused and revenue generating for the company that owns it. So that's the main difference.
That explains a lot.
Going around, Mary, do you have anything?
I just love it. I love that you're here. Welcome. Thank you for coming and being a part of our team. You're an accomplished entrepreneur, a wonderful mom, and, you set a high standard, so I'm excited. The fact that you started not long ago and you already have everything listed out for the year and, you have details and can explain things to us. I just appreciate you, so thank you.
Thank you very much. It is truly an honor to be sitting right here and with all of you and the opportunity to be doing what I'm doing. I'm excited beyond belief.
Good.
Thank you, sir.
Councilman Morris?
Welcome again. I know I've said this a few years back, but is there any way we could populate our calendar that's on the website that only seem to have our meetings?
There you go.
Because that's going to be a great help to me. So yes, we'll absolutely do that. It is a underutilized resource.
Yes, the only three things that make it is the architectural review, architectural board meeting, town council meetings, and PC meetings.
Complete, full transparency. The reason those make it is because it is tied into our minute track. So the moment we schedule that in January, it auto-populates. But on Wednesday, Aaron will know how to run it, and we
There we
will
go.
collectively
Making a note.
utilize the resource.
While you're doing that, could we do calendar invites?
Would you like one for every farmer's market?
No, I mean, is it easy? I mean, I don't want it to be laborsome at all. I'll go through it and add it to my
I don't know how
calendar.
to use it yet. So.
You can send out calendar invites for
If it's
events
not-
so that you guys know when they are. It's for events. It's
Yes, for events.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not going to send one for every farmer's market. That's 30
No.
Sundays. You don't need it. But for events, yes.
I just love the simplicity of just accept or decline, because I've declined a few.
Spam.
But yeah, I think you're right, Emily. It is underutilized. So I just think we need to use it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, Marchant revealed kind of one of mine, but yeah, I'm sure you're discussing with the town staff the branding that will be used for the farmers market so that we do have something recognizable. Other events, I really like how populated the event calendar is already. I'd like you to kind of trace back what we've done over the past couple years, so that, I think Alex's Army usually likes to do an annual event. Flags for Heroes likes to have us host. So if you could work with staff on what we've done in the past, maybe you can reach out to them and say, hey, you plan on doing something this year too?
Yes, of course. Absolutely.
Point.
We good on that? Well, thank you and welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Welcome.
We'll go on to the next agenda item, monthly financial report.
Good evening, council. First of all, I want to start off, is there any specific question aside from the typo that Councilman Morris emailed me about?
Private email. You don't have to share it openly.
But
It's been going on
I
ever
want
since
to acknowledge it,
Haymarket became a town.
make sure you know that I did see the email.
Says that you read it.
Actually, I've been reading it every month, and I just got it. After 7 years, I just got it.
You're doing a great job as a clerk.
Thank you. So I don't know if you have any specific questions, though, particularly to the monthly financials.
Not the month.
Okay. Okay, well, I'd like to just make it a point to let everyone know that we are in the black. We are tracking, our revenues are coming in at a higher rate than what we are spending out. This budget is also, we're getting close to receiving another big portion of our revenue source, which is the business licenses. The meals tax, as you guys can see, it is tracking higher than what we have budgeted. I don't see that doing anything other than just increasing, so we'll address that as well in the next budget. Sales tax have been coming in. I just this one does include up till November. I don't know why it was a typo there to December, but I apologize. This does include December. That's been coming in really strong as well. Nothing aside from that. Just wanted to give you guys an update that I have reached out to our auditors. By March 9th, I should be getting a draft of the annual audit. So I am hoping that once everything is completed, we'll be able to have Michael, the auditor representative, to come in and do either virtually or he'll come in person to do the presentation. That is something that we did request from them this year. The CARES Act audit, I do have a few items that we do need to submit, just some testing items. So I'm hoping to complete that this week as well. And that is all I really have right now to report.
And Roberto, I just noticed this. I know we talked about this last year and couldn't figure out where the money was coming from. Car rental reimbursement, what is that?
So,
Now that there's actually a number in there?
yes, and it's very minimal, but I have reached out to Prince William County. I can try to reach out again, but they said that there is a company here that is submitting taxes for the town, that they have a rental company here. The last one I know was
One across the street.
U-Haul.
the
They're out
U-Haul
of
place,
business.
yeah, but I thought that went out of business. I thought
It
they
is.
closed. So I'm not sure where. I can, once again, reach out to them.
We still have our mystery car rental agency.
And when I actually asked the county, can you give me an address or what address they're using, they couldn't give me the information.
I thought we did do the research, and it came back to be across the street behind the old bank building.
I thought the most recent time we researched it, it pinged up in the industrial area at one of those shops there.
Yeah, it was the U-Haul dealer at Fred's
nice
Garage.
Yes.
But that's been out of business for more than a year.
Yes, it was, because it recently started. As you guys can tell, I removed it off the budget because that went out of business, so we weren't expecting the revenue. And then it just started showing up here periodically.
Which department can't give you the address of the person that they're receiving?
I would have to email and I can get back to you guys. But I would have to go back to look through my emails because it has been a while since I last asked. And I know the departments have changed, kind of like the sales tax too. They've had a lot of turnover. So I don't even know if the person I talked to would be still there or would be the right person to, ask the information for.
Well, it was Haymarket Motors that was doing the U-Haul rental.
Correct.
Is Haymarket Motors now defunct, or?
Yeah, he closed up the U-Haul business more than a year ago, right?
Okay. The Volvo place is still there? They're the
So they were
metal
bought off-
fabrication place?
They were bought off
and-
by the Haymarket Motors. When did they buy off by someone else? I would research it, get back to you guys by next Monday.
I'm sorry, the point
Yeah.
being is that as you already identified, doing a windshield sort of survey of businesses in town and folks that are doing business in that complex, so.
Yeah.
I'll try to get some information from Monday's meeting and report back to y'all.
It's just mystery of who this business is that pays taxes that we have no record of.
Yeah, I was looking at the.
Okay, we can research it then.
Yeah.
I mean, I just noticed it because it's usually a blank number.
Yes,
and-
and it is, compared to the overall budget, it is a minimal number, but I'll definitely research it and try to have an answer for you guys on Monday.
Same thing in that revenue block. What the heck is railroad rolling stock?
I know.
Mr. Joe?
Yeah, what is that? I have no idea.
It's a funding from the state based on rail traffic through the town, I think. It's some apportionment of a larger, it's like the utility tax. We get a portion of what the state gets for
Okay.
some tax they levy upon the railroads. Joe should know this.
Very loud.
So this is our noise compensation tax, is that what it is? Pretty much.
I mean, when you get that revenue, who are you getting it from? You getting it from the state?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
a
it comes
state
from the
item.
state, right?
We get it from Norfolk.
Norfolk Southern.
Yes, that's where we get it from.
Oh, directly from Manassas?
Yes.
Maybe we should put a toll up.
Yeah.
See what it is.
Well, no, I apologize. They send it to the state, but they do file the
Yeah, the
information.
state keeps it for you.
It trickles
All
down,
in the-
similar to.
exactly.
Similar to tax, I guess.
No, it's a property tax on the railroad's equipment.
Property tax on the personal property,
It's almost like a personal property tax on our cars. It's $1 on each hundred of assessed value. That's a lot of money.
That's interesting.
Okay.
I do want to ask Roberta a couple questions, while we're all here. Unless you got
Okay.
something you want to do.
Well, I already jumped the gun, so I'll hit you on the on the way back,
You have,
circling around.
No further questions.
Okay, Mary?
I do not have questions about the monthly financial report. Thank you, Roberto.
Councilman Morris?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just two things. Roberto, 3160, FOIA receipts.
Yes.
Should there be a number in there that's budgeted, or we'll leave that blank?
So when we do our final amendments, we can create it. The reason why it's not budgeted is because we never know. I mean, in the next budget, if you guys wanted to, I could put a amount there as budgeted, so we can have it there. But we could amend it in the final amendment. We'll do this year.
Practice that we used to do before this council took office, where we waited until after amounts are submitted, and then we do a budget amendment. But I don't think that's a good practice. I think it may be a better practice, in my opinion, if we budget an amount and then we match at the end of the year how much we come against that number. I mean, it's small, it's insignificant, but it's a bad practice what we've done in the past. Instead of, because in the past what we would do is you've heard of the cases, or you know of the cases of you wait until it's all these numbers and you do a budget revision. And I just think it's a bad practice for us to continue doing that. So maybe the finance liaisons maybe can come up with an amount that over, looking at past years, what we've but what we've paid out for this amount, what we've put in the budget, and maybe come up with an estimate. It can be higher or low, it's just that you'll adjust it at the end of the year, but at least have a number in there.
Yeah, we can look at that. Bob, any thoughts?
It's largely a pass-through because you're paying for time. It's not really a revenue. It's not something that you're going to rely on for other things.
It's more of an expense.
Yes,
Really.
quite frankly, it is more of an expense than it is anything else. I'm kind of agnostic on it. My personal thought would be leave it set at 0 because there's no expectation. And going into a year, you shouldn't have any expectation. I mean, it's inevitable in most years that you're going to have some income from that. But with the relative small number that we get, the even smaller number of FOIAs that we charge for, and the recent moves in Richmond to address further reducing FOIA charges, my take is juice ain't worth the squeeze, and just leave it at 0, and if something pops in, something pops in. Any way you look at it, it's going to amount to nothing more than a rounding error at the end of the day on the entirety of the budget.
Just to give you a perspective, in the prior years, 19, 20, 21, one year we did 120 of FOIA receipts. The other year we did $49. The other year we did $54. This year we're doing $291. It's very inconsistent, unlike all the other budget line items. But yeah,
I think it's more the principle behind
the principle,
it than the amount for me.
I can.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah, we can talk about it.
I don't think it's something
We could
need to
slap
hash
an
out here.
arbitrary number in there. I don't know that it's going to make a bit of difference, but
It's somewhat analogous to the discussion we were having on, with the finance liaisons about the fines,
the fine revenue.
right?
Yeah, are you setting an expectation of something that you shouldn't be setting an expectation on? So that's a little bit different there because there's a couple of philosophical schools of thought on fine revenue.
That you work into a quota.
Yeah, personally, I like leaving fine revenue at 0.
Yeah. Well, revenue I can understand because you can kind of adjust the budget without amending it. If you're expensing something, though, it's an amendment. So you might want to just throw a number in there to set as a reserve for just in case. And that way, no amendments ever needed.
You throw $50 in there every year, and nobody will notice one way or the other.
I just don't want us to miss the point I'm making. It's the principle behind
I get
it.
it.
Because I've seen how the budget gets abused in the past, or got abused in the past, by waiting until the last month of something showing up and then you do an amendment. And then it's hard to take the money back. Then there's no checks and balances in it because you're not looking at the invoices that are coming in and matching it against what we budgeted in order to change that budgeted item the next year. It's just to safeguard ourselves from not falling into the practices of the past.
Okay.
But again, I just throwing it out there. It's a matter of principle. It has nothing at all to do with the $50 or the $250.
And I agree with everyone there, up there. We will go ahead and work on it. Even in finance, I'll give them a number, but also just want to remind you that also when I do amendments, that's the reason why I specifically break it down, each line item breakdown, so everyone is aware of where the revenue is going to be expended to. And that's one thing that I think with this council I've been able to do more often. So yeah, well, I'll make a note of that.
Thank you. The next item, Mr. Mayor, is Roberta 411002, street beautification, HF. What is that for? It's on the Public Works.
Garden Club, isn't it?
No, so this money was money that was received. Let me get to that one. So this money was the money that was received in the last council for money that was held by another nonprofit that dealt with the replacement of any of the benches, the plates, the trees. The reason why I have this on the budget is because this is what is left from that 21, I think it was 21 or 22,000, hold on.
Over 20,000.
This is what was left, this is the balance that's left out of the 19,017 and 19 cents that the town received from them. This is held in a separate account, that is supposed to deal strictly for bench replacements.
Historic Foundation, right?
Yes, correct. And this was was set up with a prior council, I believe mayor as well. But it was received back in 2019, and it was used to do some work, updates on the trees. I believe Ms. Lockhart could, Karazi, sorry, Ms. Karazi could update you all on. But this 2,213 is what's left of that fund that we can use to, like I said, replace plates, benches, and I believe trees.
It's limited in its application, as I remember. There's
Yes.
only a finite number of things the money can be used on.
Yes.
And it's essentially a replacement cost program.
But there's no duplicity across the budget, like this item is not covered under another topic somewhere else on the budget. Okay.
No.
And it is up to the town manager and staff to decide where to use it, and
So I would say, based on the restrictions, it's strictly for those replacements of the benches, the bricks, the plates that sit on the benches. The light poles also have those placards. Actually, when I was walking the grounds of the museum with Matt the other day, I noticed some of those bricks were chipped with people's names on them. So we'll create a plan and go ahead and let everybody know we have benches that do need some work. He was going to work on cleaning them up. but
Mike is cutting in and out.
be a better idea to get a work plan and present it to you guys.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Back to you, Joe.
Oh, okay. So we're going to meet Thursday, and we'll probably talk a little bit more about what we talked about Saturday, I'm guessing, Roberto, about ARPA.
Yes.
All right, could you just kind of go through your thinking and how we're going to, what we're going to do with the money just from a accounting perspective?
So, from the county perspective, by talking to finance and then Saturday with council, we are planning to take the one-time allowance. So we'll be taking the full 1.7 to use as operating expense through our operating expenses. Majority of the money is going to go through CIP. We plan on, being able to implement the money, some of the monies into the completion of the sidewalk. Right now, we have started it. The review, the design build, that's being funded using surplus money from last year's budget. Currently, same thing with the completion of the town center project. We are going to use some of those ARP funds, move it into that. So we're removing operating funds to fund these expenditures. I believe on Saturday there was also a conversation. I'm not sure if you guys want me to.
Yeah.
On Saturday, the conversation was also due to assessments coming out from the county recently to look into having a discussion about a refund, one-time refund for town residents.
Well, real estate owners.
Real estate owners, yes, real estate owners, my apologies. Though it would come with some, I guess, requirements that the real estate owners are in good standing with the town. There's no past due real estates due to the town. But that is going to be up for discussion, as well as with the remaining funds, creating it with separate accounts, creating it where it is kind of in a lockbox, where they're going to be specifically identified as being used for certain projects. So what that would in essence do is that I believe council in the past, the concern there is basically so the money won't be able to be just easily spent on any item without it having to go through a process, an explanation as to why it would not be used for the original intent. And that is what finance and I believe council has been talking about with those ARPA funds.
Yeah, I thought thought we discussed that like 2 months ago. Maybe a
Well,
month ago.
we just did a list though on Saturday.
CIP.
Laying out a list.
Yes. But the majority of it, the plan is to address CIP items.
I think
For the town.
if I may?
Yes.
If I may. What's important to understand is we're going to be doing this one-time standard allowance. We've talked about that. So that obviates us from doing any justifications in how we spend it, which is great, right? Essentially.
Makes the paperwork easy.
Makes it a lot easier. And so the accounting measure or practice that we're going to have to do is we're going to book that April 7th.
Yes.
We're going to book that to our budget as a revenue source. We have to figure out what line item, or we're going to create a new one. or
Create a
what are
new
we
one.
gonna
Create a
do?
new one. Yeah.
And so we'll book that to our budget. You'll see our budget jump considerably, right? Because, well,
Yeah,
maybe
because we
not.
get the second tranche in June.
April.
Well, the operating budget will. I mean, right now, we're carrying that number.
Not the operating budget. The
Right.
budget as a whole, not the operating
Yes,
budget.
thank you. The budget as a whole. I always think operating, but I can't help it. So anyway, so we're going to book that in April, and that's going to make it look like our numbers are higher, but that money is still going to be dedicated, or at least that's the plan. I think we'd like to dedicate that to capital cost and expenditures.
I think what we're going to do is give the option to the council on how to do this, but what I would like to avoid is what's happened in the past where it becomes a reserve, and then that reserve, instead of being expended to fund capital projects or needs, gets thrown into operational costs because somebody decides to raise the operational cost without a corresponding revenue stream to cover it long-term, so you bleed the reserves.
That's my biggest concern is it possible for that money to be moved later on and dumped into reserves, or can we, from now receiving it, identify it for particular uses?
Either way.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. We could literally budget it out 2 projects, and I suspect that at the end of the day, even though the lifespan of some of the projects will extend more than a year, we can go ahead and key that line item to budget it for more than 1 fiscal year.
Right.
Which will probably happen.
Yeah, I mean, will happen,
Yeah.
just by the nature of the project.
I don't want to go on the spending spree.
No.
So we'll be talking about that, I guess, on Thursday.
Yeah, and the only thing, just to address that too, Councilman Morris, just a reminder, remember that anything over 1%, any money that's going to be amended that's over 1%, you'll have to hold a public hearing. So that's another reason why too, by budgeting it this way, if there's, it looks like it'll be a little bit over 4 million, so it'll be anything over 40,000 that you want to move, you would have to do a public hearing to address why the move, and have public's input.
We're going to have a public hearing to move it in anyway, so we'll do a third quarter budget amendment.
No, I was just stating to address them if it's future, if it's already been budgeted and in the
Oh,
future
okay.
someone decides to move it, they would have to hold anything over 40,000 because that's what it would look like. Say if it was 4,040,000 would trigger a public hearing notice, and we'd have to go through the process. The council as a whole would have to go through the process to have that hearing to justify why the move.
But we are going to have a public hearing for a budget amendment in the third quarter,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you, Roberto.
Any other questions? Okay. Let's move on then. We'll go to recommendation to reappoint Don Meeks to the BZA.
So Kim has researched and looked into our BZA appointments. When kind of the beginning of the year hits, we start looking at all of our boards and commissions for the dates of expiration for the members. And we came up with the following recommendations. We have found that Matthew Gallagher, who currently serves on the Board of Zoning Appeals, his term expired in January of 2020. Eric Matthews' term expired in January of 2021, and Mr. Donald Meeks, his term will be expiring in March of 22, so next week. Gallagher and Meeks are both interested in serving again, and we have put forward here what the dates of their new term would be on when they would expire. And we did speak with the town attorney, and he stated that the 2 expired terms, those individuals are allowed to continue to serve until reappointment or a replacement is found. We have not been able to reach Mr. Matthews yet regarding if he is interested in continuing to serve. We are still working through that, and we will be sending a letter if it was not already done at the end of last week. So this is up for council's discussion, and if we wish to move forward, we can have motions prepared for next week with recommendations to the Prince William County Circuit Court Judge for the appointment of those positions.
Any questions?
I don't have a question. Well, it's more like, it is a question. Should the BZA members have town emails for FOIA?
Yes.
Yes.
Interesting question. I can speak to this a little bit if you'd like.
Yes, please.
We don't have emails in the county.
And I'll counter address this.
Okay, all right. But what we end up doing is establishing an email just specifically for BZA work because of potential FOIA issues. So I don't necessarily think they have to have a town address as long as they have an email address that is specific. That would be my recommendation for any FOIA-able items.
I know that in the last 3 months, there was a comment that we had maxed out or reached our maximum limit for email. Has that been fixed?
Yes and no. I say yes and no, not to make it complicated, but we have certain licenses that give the entirety of what I would call the office suite, and then we have some licenses that are email only. So our boards and commissions, those are email only. I still really would like one email for Matt. Matt does not have an email, and I think that's very important that he should have an email and the office ability to write reports, so forth and so on.
So is it, Mr. Mayor, if it's okay with you for Emily, for the town manager to research to see if we do need to up the amount of emails and how much it would cost us? But I think to ask a BZA member to create a personal email account is a little bit unprofessional. If we can afford it,
No, I don't think it is.
no?
No.
With the
not at all.
activity,
Huh?
with the activity they have anyways, but
Well, you got to remember, and Bob will probably counter this, but we are appointed by the circuit court. BZA members are appointed. The councils, the BOCS is only a recommendation. So they really, I mean, this is where it gets a little squirrely. I mean, they do get paid by the county a monthly stipend or something, but they are and they aren't employees. They're an independent body.
and you're
And it's
giving,
meant to be that way, an independent body. I mean, it could go either way. I mean, I have no dog in the fight, but what I did was for the county, I got my own Gmail account exclusively for BZA, and everybody else has done the same thing.
I was thinking of it mostly for FOIA situations.
Well, that's FOIA. I mean, that's FOIA-able too. Go ahead, Bob, counter.
This has been a long sticking point with me and the county. Marshawn, perhaps you can speak to this in Loudon. I don't know how they do it. Do they grant your planning commission members their own county email?
Yes.
Okay. They don't in Prince William.
Good job.
They don't do it for any of the boards, and it drives me nuts. You need a standardized address for anybody that is associated with the town. BZA, we pay them, therefore they're our employees. Yes, they're appointed by the court, but they are a functionary of the town. And I think that any functionary of the town, regardless of what board we're talking about, if they're on a paid position basis, need to have a town email with the emails, the corresponding emails going through the town server for security, transparency, and FOIA purposes. This will be one of the few times you hear me say this. I don't give a damn what it costs. I mean, that's the squawking I get back from the county. It costs us too much for email addresses. You have a multi-billion-dollar budget. Find it in the couch cushions.
All of that to say is support what I'm saying.
Yes. Now I have to get up myself.
Mr. Mayor, is that,
This
Mr.
is
Mayor,
an
is
issue.
it,
This is a soapbox.
This is an issue that hits home for me because it causes
Mr. Mayor, is
problems.
it okay if, for us to, direct the town manager to look at the expenses, to have them, have their, a town email?
Yeah, it is, but I would like to get if there's any objection by the board.
I mean, I don't have an objection, but technically, I mean, I would think they should go through the circuit court with their emails. I mean, if they're appointed by the circuit court,
Yeah, but the FOIA request comes through us, not the court.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it gives the impression that they're,
I get it.
it's part of the county, when actually you're a quasi-judicial branch, right, attached to the circuit court.
But your expenditures are paid for by the county, which makes the county responsible for your paperwork and your record keeping.
You guys keep talking county. Is this actually paid by the county? It's not coming out of our
That's
budget?
the sticking point. It is paid, the BZA for the county is paid through county.
Yep.
Correct. Bob is right.
And the BZA for the town is paid through the town.
And what do we pay, do we pay them anything for a meeting?
Some nominal amount.
For meetings,
Like,
no.
yeah.
Whether they meet or not?
No,
No,
only when.
Policy in the county is whether they meet or not,
ours are only for meetings.
but it's $50 a month. I mean, whatever.
Not nearly enough.
No, it doesn't, not for some of the cases.
Marshawn?
Marchant, you look tired.
Everyone keeps talking about that. Thank you. Glad you're worried about me.
Could have been that long
I'm
walk,
married
you
with
know,
kids.
made him late.
So with these 3 appointments, how many people do we have staffed on the? 5.
Five.
So,
2 of them don't expire for several years. They were recently appointed.
And that is,
That
Dan
is
McGill.
Mr. King and Mr. McGill.
one of the previous attorneys used to say if we need to use the BZA, then we've somehow failed to do the work. That's no,
well, who failed to do the work?
yeah, but you're doing a good job. Don't worry about that. So hopefully we will not see the need for the BZA to do work, although based on my Saturday discussion about some of the properties in town that will be challenged when they redevelop, whether or not they have structures or not, we may see an uptick, especially with new folks being interested in investing in the town. We may see a spike in requests for variances or other determinations or appeals of determinations. So
And all the more reason for us to get trained.
it's an investment well spent. So if we can get those folks in place, I agree.
So the takeaway, I will prepare the motions for the recommendation to appoint these members.
Well, I do have a, before you
We're
go
not
there.
done. Yeah.
Okay.
So if Eric Matthews has not been heard from and you've reached him how many different ways or tried to reach him?
I would have to ask Kim. Kim's been handling
Okay,
this.
I think I heard her say the other day, she tried by phone, by email, and I think she sent him a letter, I think.
If she sent the letter, it would have gone out Thursday or Friday.
Okay. All right. I wouldn't be prepared to move on Mr. Matthews, I can tell you that right now. That's me.
Matthews,
And
are you talking Matthew
Yes,
Gallagher?
no,
Eric Matthews?
Eric Matthews.
Matthews.
I mean, if he's been unresponsive, I've got an issue with that.
I think like one of the first things we need to establish is if they are still in the town.
Yeah, he's
They have
still
to be
here.
town members, correct?
He's still here. One thing I seem to like on this as well is I like a nice hard copy application, even though it may continue on from a previous application. I think they should be updated every time that their term comes. So is there any way we can get them to fill out an application so we have something that's a tangible document for this term?
No issue with that.
We
You
can
should.
request it.
They should reapply.
Yeah, I feel, and give their credentials, so we could always argue about the credentials. Go ahead, Chris.
So let's look at the legality behind the discussion.
Mm-hmm.
They continue to serve even though their term expires
State code.
State code.
until they are reappointed
Or replaced,
Or they
or
quit.
they quit.
or they're replaced.
So we have the right to fire them, in a matter of speaking, if we don't appoint them.
Can we?
Well, we got to pick somebody else and appoint them, and the moment that happens, they're
They stay until
bumped.
the court appoints somebody new.
It's the court, we only recommend.
We only recommend.
I mean,
So that's what I want to talk about, the legalities of it. Because
So we should
cannot
have a
say,
set of
at this
documentation.
stage, we cannot say we're not reappointing 2 members and keeping it to 5, because that is a change that we're venturing to, right? So we have to keep it
But
at
we have to
5.
keep 5.
Statute requires us to have 5 at a minimum.
So the individuals that you're saying that whose terms have expired, do we then require of them to reapply and state their intention to continue serving in that position?
Well, with the new information that I heard here, I feel we should, because we're passing the application on for somebody else to appoint off of our recommendation, right? So that information needs to be fed to them as well, and it should be up-to-date information.
Okay, but then you have the side where they continue serving in that position until they're reappointed.
Right.
Or replaced.
Or replaced, yeah.
See, in the memo, it says that Mr. Gallagher is interested and Mr. Meeks are interested.
Okay.
Is interested. So I would imagine it's probably not too problematic to get
Get them to
a written
apply.
request or however you want to do it. Bless you.
Yes, correct.
I mean, Mr. Matthews will continue to serve until such time. But I have no interest in recommending somebody who
We're not
doesn't show
able to
any
get
interest.
interested, yeah. No, I agree with you. I just want to make sure that we see the legal side of it. Because we can replace him, but we have to have an interested party.
But, so I think everyone can kind of agree, at least logically, that we should have up-to-date information to pass on a recommendation with, so that the appointing board can review the information, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We
no-
would have to do a resolution, right, Bud?
Yeah,
For the circuit.
pass it on to the circuit court. I think Martin has to sprinkle holy water on it, but
So direct you to request an application. We'll put that information in the next meeting with the resolution, and if we decide to appoint or recommend at that point.
The agenda for Monday night's meeting should go out technically tomorrow or at the latest Wednesday. If we don't have these applications by then, would you like for me to put them on our next meeting?
Either that, or just put them on the agenda, and if they don't show up, it's,
We'll table it until the
we'll
next.
table it, yeah.
Okay.
Because they continue serving.
Formalities here, guys.
We're going to put that in the book.
Okay,
Put that in the book. The desk book.
the description, yeah. Work descriptions. Okay, so I'm assuming we're done with all of that then, and we'll move on to the tourism and occupancy tax discussion.
there is no discussion. All of the bills died within the last 2 weeks. We are good to go as we are. We don't need to talk about it anymore.
But I see we have some concern from staff.
Update the definitions.
Oh, well, the definition's on you, but the other changes, all gone.
Well, I think Martin wants the council to adopt new changes in the definition of ordinance. It just updates the ordinance.
Did we talk about that last meeting?
We did, but we put a hold on it because at the time,
Put a hold on it because of the financial implications. The hold no longer applies because all the bills died.
So then you would
Proceed.
resubmit what we had at the last meeting?
resubmit what we had, that took effect on September 1st, 2021. So
Okay.
we resubmit that and you guys vote on that.
I'm okay with that.
You had a question, Emily? Okay, so, yeah, next,
It's going to get done for Marchand.
military banner replacement discussion.
So I had Emily prepare a little memo here for everybody tonight. The last time we put up our military banners in November, we had several that we were unable to put up due to damage that they had seen over the course of the several years. With that being said, we did have some of the families reach out and notice their banners were not up and they wanted to know about the replacement. When we originally put this program into place, there was no replacement fee. We originally put the program out there as this is you buy your banner, we put it up this year. If we continue to do the program, the banner will go up so long as it is able to go up. With that being said, I told these families we would discuss it and investigate the cost for what it would take to replace them, whether it be the owner of the banner or the town. So we're putting this information in front of you guys tonight to have a discussion. We have 11 banners that are damaged, and the replacement of all these banners plus shipping is going to be $495. And we would have a 1-year warranty on those banners if they were damaged within the year. I will share that the families who reached out, of course, they would like to see the town put these banners up and replace them, and they really enjoy the program, and they like to see that it would continue. But they are also very invested that if the town is unable to replace them, they would like to take care of it for their family members because they see the importance of it. So I can answer any questions.
Marshawn?
Okay, so do you have a question about the impetus of when the program started? It was an Eagle Scout project. It was an independent vendor that was taking on the production of the banners. In full disclosure, I was one of the examples that was used to advertise that, but we're soliciting folks to do that. So now it seems like more of a maintenance of those that we already have. Is there an interest, or is there a proposal to invite more folks to participate in the program?
So I think that's something that we should discuss as a whole. I don't think this is something that we can necessarily finalize tonight, but we have it on an open enrollment, if you will. It's $75 for new participants. However, we're going to have to cap it at some point. We only have so many flagpoles with banner arms. Of course, we want to have all of our military folk who want one to have one up in the town, but we do have some that are in, of course, the surrounding community, or we have some that are residents and they have gotten the banners for their loved ones. Because this is either their hometown or, it's important for the resident. So we need to look at it as a whole. Right now, it's 11 that need replacing. But if they're up over, let's say, Memorial Day weekend and we have a bad storm and 30 of them get damaged, we need to be able to set the same precedence forward to those 30 that we do these 11.
Thank you for that. Again, full disclosure, my banner is one of the ones that came down, so.
But you have two, so one of yours is still.
Yeah, I think I have someone in the
Somehow
boxes.
we ended
I
up-
moved.
Yeah.
But so I think there's two parts to it. One is maintaining those that are there. I understood the program originally is that you when you paid your $75, it was for that year.
Yes.
Veterans Day and Memorial Day. So the fact that we're continuing to put them up every year despite that renewal fee, was that something that changed, or?
So that was something, full disclosure, it was not fully vetted out completely. We were under the understanding when the program was in place that the American Legion was going to take it over.
Okay.
Yes, so we were.
Very good, remember that.
We were under the understanding that another organization was going to house the banners, care for the banners, and we would coordinate with them, putting them up and down. So we were not under the impression that the town was ever going to end up with all of them. It originally, you are correct, started with an Eagle Scout project to get these banners put up. He came out and he advertised at Haymarket Day. We had a great, response to it, but it was for that year. And when that was over, the people who purchased the banners were able to come pick them up and take them home. And some of them did, but since then we have had more individuals asked to put banners up and purchase them. We've allowed them to do so. We probably have about 50 or so banners now that we have in rotation. It is now, I will say, it is now an expectation that they are put up. We do hear feedback from our community. Why do we not leave them up year round? Why do we not leave them up from May until November? These banners, the way they are printed, they are a bit more fragile, if you will. They are a plastic, and what we had, some of the reasons that they were damaged this past year is they melted to the poles. Because of how tight they are when they go on and how hot it was this summer, they definitely melted onto the banner arms. So there were a couple that unfortunately had to be cut off.
With respect to the Legion, you're correct, I thought. That they were the ones that were supposed to proctor this. And they showed up at the original kickoff to this and took ownership of it, and I guess they've just not followed through, or have we not followed through?
We tried to follow through. So when Shelley was here, Shelley really worked on this. She had a passion for this, and she worked directly with the Eagle Scout and the American Legion. And I believe what it came down to is it was best for us to hold on to them. We had the resources to put them up and down, and so that's kind of where we left it. At the time, the American Legion didn't have the resources to fully utilize and do the program.
So the champion left, and so the program kind of faltered.
And that's where I was going with it, is that, does it make sense for us to sort of revisit the policy, how we want to solicit new folks? What is the...
Do we have a written policy?
Yeah, so now that this happened, who do we want to invite? There's a cap, who gets priority in town versus outside of town. And that's the program we have in the spring with the flags.
Flags for Heroes.
Flags for Heroes, a lot of that seemed to overlap too. So if it'd be helpful to you for us to be a little more formal in, when they go up, who goes up, how they get replaced, how they get renewed, let us know. We can go ahead and put that together. Thanks.
You done?
Yep, thanks.
Mary?
I want to offer my full support of what Marchant's proposing. I think that, for me personally, I have family members who are veterans that I unfortunately did not make the cutoff, and I did not realize it was a rolling admission thing. So I never got to put up a banner, and I would love to do that in honor of my mother in particular. So I know that there's some, I'm one of them. So I would be interested in helping get this rolling if necessary, or I'd be happy to set up meetings to where we can vet out everything and bring a proposal to council for a final decision, and just want to offer my help with that.
I was just going to say the same thing. I feel like it's time for us to revisit those guidelines.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm being a bit sarcastic about it because,
There are no banners.
I mean, it seemed like it was another shiny object that kind of fell by the wayside and very disrespectful to our veterans. So, I mean, we obviously have to develop an outline, a plan, a policy, whatever you want to call it. Put it in the book. Yes.
Asset description.
Yeah, put it in the book. But, so, these banners, what are you asking for here, though? I mean, we've got the policy that has to get done and revamped, right? Or at least outlined
Right, like
and
have a program.
documented so people know, right? And communicated and whatever processes you have to establish in order to do that. And you're saying it's an open enrollment, but we have a limited number of polls, so that would have to be in the policy, right?
Yep.
I would think.
Maybe we put an end date.
I mean, I know for me, I would love to get 3.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, for personally, I mean, I have 3 people right off the bat that I would love to do this for.
Right.
But I would think that it's up to the individual families to do that, to buy the banners, because we do provide the service. What's disconcerting is that I don't even understand why the American Legion was involved if they weren't going to do anything. It kind of gets in the way. They're kind of like a middleman, and it just complicates things further.
I think it had to do with the Eagle Scout and maybe if the Scout Troop was based out of the American Legion post at the time.
Ah, okay. I mean, great organizations, but would it be easier for us not to handle the banners ourselves?
And
The-
that's why we have.
And that's why we have them, okay. So the question is, what's the useful life of these things? I mean, it sounds like they don't last long.
Well, I think we need to set those expectations when we revisit this program, right? Like, that's going to be some of the discussions that we need to lay out for the people who want to participate.
Right. And so, there's the immediate need for 11, is that what we're talking about here?
Yes.
And what do we want to do about that? Are the Are the families willing to purchase?
Yes.
So, I mean, we'll buy them and then they'll reimburse, or how's that gonna work?
We can go about it different ways. We don't, maybe to add another issue out there with the program. When they purchased the banners, they did not submit an application to the town. It went directly through our third-party vendor to buy them. So we
Individuals.
know some of the families have reached out to us and we've gathered their information, but we do not, with 100% certainty, have phone numbers or contacts for all of them. We can kind of do a who's this post on Facebook, and we can put some names out there with banner pictures and
Oh, boy.
get help, but we do not have all of their contacts,
I get it.
unfortunately.
So you're gonna have to do a little forensics.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Is the vendor still around? Is
The vendor's still around, but they don't necessarily, we've already asked them, they don't necessarily have all of the contact information on file.
Gotcha,
I mean, this was done 3 years ago.
gotcha.
Plus you got PCI regulations and stuff that are associated with information they can reveal. Chris, you have a question, comment?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought the whole process was to raise your hands and be recognized by the mayor. Couple of things, Mr. Mayor, concerning the tribute banner. And I'm just going to throw them out there. I think we need to suspend the open enrollment until we until we put together a policy.
Yep.
I think we need to do a better research on replacing the banners that are bad, so as not to replace them with of the same type. That means if we can come up with a better priced option for better product and we replace the 11 over the next years, we would replace them for the newer type or better product. So then, and in saying that, with that price coming forward, if a banner gets damaged over the next season, I would suggest us not automatically replacing it with the new type unless the family gets in touch with us. Just like this one, we have 11 old ones that needs to be replaced, and I'm certain those family members have contacted us to replace them. So I think in doing that, we could come up then with a policy in how to make, because this is a great program, it's just that it wasn't vetted properly, and now we are seeing the effects of poor planning. Thank you, sir.
Okay. I'll give it to Emily and then you, Bob. I'm assuming she's going to answer some questions of Councilman Morris.
Maybe not answering questions, maybe making another problem. I don't want to take anything away from the military banner discussion, but I do also want to add in there, we right now haven't purchased all of our other seasonal banners because of a cost. So it needs to be a full outline of all of it, and we'll have to decide what we can fund and what we can't.
So we got a boom. Here we go with another CIP investment, right? So to
Sounds
speak,
like it.
replacement of an asset.
Sounds like it.
Yep.
We're talking $500, right?
With our other banners, just to kind of put it in perspective, right now, we only have enough to do about half of our poles, so we do stagger them. I drove through town today. It doesn't look
Emily?
that great.
So maybe
Tell
we
them
need
how
to
much
take a
it's
step
gonna
back.
be to
Sorry.
replace
Well,
all
that,
of them.
and that's what I was gonna say. So to replace all of those is probably about 10 grand. And that's only for one season.
But that's what I'm wondering, if we need to just take a step back, pause right now, take a step back and just have a whole separate discussion just on going forward over the next 5-10 years.
I think we do, and I think it needs to be our banners, but also it needs to include the streetlight beautification, if you will. We have, I mean, it was brought up Saturday that we have poles that in one area of town look one way, and the other area, they, don't look as nice. Some have banner arms that are bent at, 45-degree angles. It's time to take a look at all of it. I will probably ask Matt to really go through and count exactly how many lights have all the equipment to do this and how many need replacement. That alone is also a investment.
Remember, I'm sorry, I just want to jump in. You remember when we were going to do a painting program?
Mm-hmm.
That was, what, 6 years ago?
Nothing's been done since then, so,
Sorry about that.
no.
But we're catching them. I think the good thing is that we're catching these issues, and we're coming up with plans on how to address them properly, not just put a Band-Aid over it.
Yeah.
And that's why, for me, looking at this banner, which I love and I support, you know, it's pausing right now and then just take a step back and say, okay, how do we formalize it in moving forward? Because what we're doing, every issue that we've touched since we've taken office, we're basically preparing for the success of future council. That's what we're doing. And this is one of those issues. Thank you, sir.
Bob, you're next.
First off, I absolutely agree with Councilman Morris.
That's two for today.
Yeah,
so.
but I think we need to go.
There's always a but.
Yeah, everybody has to recall how all of this started, and there's never been any structure to it. Whether it's the service banners or the seasonal banners, it started off when someone just got a hair up their butt and went out and bought banners with no permission, and then it's expanded ever since. And people keep adding different seasonal banners and different types of banners. And personally, you know, I'm always gonna give a priority to the service banners. That's just my background, and I think we should be paying a whole lot more attention to that. With respect to the seasonal banners, maybe we need to make the decision that, I don't know what anybody else thinks about this. Do we want a seasonal banner, or do we just want a town banner? One motif, one message. Is it necessary?
Quick butt.
Is it necessary for a seasonal banner necessarily, or are you messaging the town?
And my quick thing to add in there, so you guys can think about it, I will present this, but other jurisdictions do a eat, live, work banner. They will let some of their businesses purchase banners. They will have a book that is uniform. They will advertise their farmer's market and some of that. So there's a lot of other opportunities than seasonally. Just my
Kite
plug.
banners? Right.
Different type banners require a higher frequency of replacement and putting them up and putting them down.
If we leave them year round,
I know.
just
We need to restructure the program, or at least put some structure to it.
So why can't we just task like the community liaison to get something discussed with staff and bring it to council?
Yeah. And then with respect to the banners themselves, specifically the service banners, quality is an issue. And, you know, if we can find, if the current supplier can provide a banner of better quality, I don't know if that's within their capability, that may not be, fine. If they can't produce one of better quality, I think we can find someone who can. There'll be a marginal cost increase, but I'm assuming that most of the families would be willing to pay for that. I'm a little worried about the current supplier raising some sort of copyright issue, but the underlying photographs don't belong to them anyway, so you might have to change the banner design a little bit just to get around that issue and avoid any contractual obligations. But I think we need to take a step back and look at this programmatically, actually put a structure in place and some guidelines, and well, actually not guidelines, but guardrails.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're going to, you know, why have 7 different banners, each with a necessity for replacement costs, when if we can trim it down to a more manageable number that we can leave up for a longer period of time.
Well, I think it would be a good discussion. I don't think we could really do it on the dais. I think we need to make some type of straw man committee for it. I don't know.
I nominate Marshawn.
I don't know what staffing would like to do with this, because we could always have 2 council members on it without having any type of FOIA problems. But yeah, I would like to see something. I mean, we can come into where if we do get a success rate for these veteran banners, you put them up for a certain amount of time and you take them down, you give them back to the families, and then you go through another rotation of the next people on the list, so that we can continually update and refresh. But I'll let someone from staff coordinate a straw man committee and come up with a policy for it, and then we can discuss that.
Mr.
Yes,
Mayor, you see,
Marcel?
the immediate question is, do we agree with the expenditure of the $495? I'm fine with that. I do think there is value added in the banner program, whether it be through the veterans or through the other ones, I think seasonal, or promoting our events. So I think the future policy is fine with that. And then with Chris, put you on the spot, but you are a NATO member, you are a veteran. I feel like you should be given the opportunity to be part of that as well,
I'm fine.
whether you are or not.
Yeah, I never
We
brag
should-
about what I do,
No, but
and I don't want to see a banner with my face on it.
mine looks
Neither do we.
remarkably younger, so I enjoy seeing the younger me.
It's okay.
But
You don't advertise the nature of what we do.
exactly, the silent service. And I also thought about too, do we want to do, first responders and stuff like that? Do we want in-town people, outside of town? So all that to be decided, but I guess staff needs the immediate feedback on whether or not to do this expenditure or not,
Yeah,
and I'm fine with it.
we're looking at about 500.
I was gonna recommend, I don't think we should, at this time, move forward with the expenditure.
Okay,
I think we should hold off and kind of flesh out the plan, because there's a lot of what ifs, there's a lot kind of other moving parts in the background that we need to figure out. And so, right now, I think we should hold off until we get that figured out.
Yeah, I also think that we don't have fair expectations for the families. If we were to ask the families to pay for these banners, we don't have clear expectations for them as to what they can expect. If their banner will be up for a year, if they're gonna get it back. And I don't think that it's fair for us to accept their money and do that without fair, clear expectations for them. So I agree with Emily.
I also agree. I think that we're setting that standard moving forward, and we should have some very clear
do we want to assign
direction.
a time when it comes back or no? You got 20 other things we're asking you to do, is this something you can accommodate?
I'd like to work towards getting it in place or bringing it back to the March 1st session. Because I had to do this a couple years ago, was for banners, I already have some of it written down, so it shouldn't take as long to flesh it all out.
Any objections to that? I'm sorry.
Joe?
Well, I was gonna volunteer to help. Because I was thinking, perhaps what we should do is reach out to some of the families themselves and see what ideas they have and what their expectations are, and include them in the process of developing the guidelines. So if you'd like, I'd be more than happy to help with that. Because I was thinking about Phil. Phil, right off the bat, he would be one guy I'd like to talk to, and some other folks.
The only problem with that, Joe, is now we're looking at it wider. Now we're looking at the whole year. Now we're looking at a much larger entity than just the military banners. So the discussion that you're entering into with staff is not just the military banners. It's
I get
kind of,
that. But I think it would be a good idea to get their input, at least on the military side.
and that's what you're going to get.
Yeah.
You're going to get their input from the military banner perspective, but we have 12 different banners.
That's, yes.
So you just have to be careful how you open that door.
Well, we'll work through it. I mean, I'll volunteer if anybody else wants to. I mean, that's great.
Only 5?
We have 5 different?
We have 5 banners, we have 4 seasons and 1 military, and then we have wreaths.
So that's
See,
8.
That's 6.
That's 8.
No, we have winter, spring, summer, fall, military, wreaths.
Town.
You were right when
Town?
you said 6.
The towns interchange, but they,
We used to.
Yeah, we have town banners.
We've stopped
And we have the flag,
Oh,
the US
so-
flag.
yeah,
So
Eight.
that's
they were
6 good
welcome.
We're
stories.
at 8.
in the last 3.5 years, we have not used the green town banners.
That's
Those-
9.
No.
Keep going.
Every seasonal banner has the town of Haymarket on it. We no longer use the green standard town banners. We have not
Which
used
is what-
those in 3.5 years.
Because I remembered when the discussion came up for how much it costs to
that's
change.
it.
And
We
got
were
rid of-
we were knocking on 10 to 12.
We need seasonal
No, we got
banners.
rid of all of that. So we only have 4 seasons, a military banner, and a wreath. If you want to count the flags, you have the flags.
And my advice to Joe as he becomes part of this subcommittee, is we don't need seasonal banners because people know what season we're in.
That's an input.
You know?
That's an
It's
input.
like, let's get rid of
They're
like
pretty.
change.
let's get rid of the seasons.
Standardized
Oh,
banners.
it's winter.
Well, it's climate
Duh.
change. We'll have to do one season anyway.
Yeah.
Madam
We will
ATM,
work on it and we will come back to you with a plan.
Madam ATM, you've got that?
Got it.
Okay.
Every season.
hold on, we got the farmer's market branding, so we got that flag to include now, so.
We're at 9.
We're at 12.
What was it, Emily? It was $1,100 to change all the flags?
About $2,000.
Change them.
About
To take them down
$2,000.
and replace them. Was that like $1,100?
So if we could eliminate 2 or 3 changes, we could pay for everything out of the savings.
We
Exactly.
could buy a taller ladder too and do it differently.
6-foot ladder in the back of your truck, we could take care of it.
We now have a truck.
So buy a jet.
And if that's not big enough, we can put a nightstand in the back and put the ladder on top of it.
You guys come from West Virginia?
Tuck and roll.
Okay, I think we wasted that topic, so.
RFP update, I just wanted to follow up. I am still waiting on Katie, but she and her team are actively working on it. That's the only update.
Okay, any questions or concerns anybody wants to throw out on that?
Are there any concerns that this is going too slow?
Yeah.
Yes.
No. From a staff level, no. I'll be
Well
honest with
done,
you, from
Emily,
a
well done.
staff level, no, because we had 3 other site plan projects that she had to get reviews done, so, the workload right now, no, I don't see that as a concern right now. No, if we revisit next week and we still don't have it, then we'll definitely reach out, but we did have 3 larger projects that we had to turn around.
But the sidewalk in
Roberto-
front of Lidl's has been approved and it's all set to be put in. Sorry, it's
It's okay.
rhetoric there, because, what I'm saying is that we're being stretched by all the developments in town that we can't focus on our own stuff as well. So that kind of sucks, but that's the situation we're in with the small staff we have. Didn't mean to make everything quiet, but
Next.
next. We got the community outreach appointment discussion. Do you want me to give information?
Did you
or-
want me to speak on it?
Please do.
Okay, so I recall in, goodness, I want to say August, we had the flow chart, and there was a proposed position for the community outreach liaison position for council. And I wanted to volunteer to be appointed, or volunteer for you guys to discuss my appointment in that. Just utilize my skills to best benefit this council and our town. And I hope to be able to reach out to community groups, HOAs, and obviously work in cohesion with the staff here to include our new events coordinator, and also, keep our community in touch with like the business side of things as well. Keep everybody up to date, be that extra link. So,
Yep, that's kind of the, I guess, reveal or information to the citizens who are listening. This was kind of discussed at the retreat this weekend. So just so people don't feel we're cutting this off too short. Anybody else have any additional comments from this weekend?
Would it be best for the community liaison to work with the business liaison? It seems like there's a big overlap. How do we approach it where you have two liaisons? Would it be better for one committee with both individuals? Because
Well,
then the community liaison would get more, should be getting information fed to her from the business side, and the business side is getting information fed from the community side.
Yeah, well, I look at that as being pretty much a duplicate effort, and it is common, but you are looking at two different communities of interest. So I think it's okay to keep separate, but, you know, they could always, you know, correspond with each other and discuss things and headaches. But the representation set is different, so I don't know if you can combine them.
I mean, I'd be happy to meet, or if I were appointed, I'm sorry, if I were appointed to this position, I'd be happy to meet with Vice Mayor as the business liaison to, you know, discuss important things. But I was thinking more community, like residential life side of things, and obviously her niche, if you will, is the business side. So I could kind of act as a sort of extra set of hands and an extra voice for the awareness side of the community. And also to, you know, just be active in the community on behalf of the council.
Yeah, we talked about that on Saturday a little bit, and that was one of my questions, Chris, is the potential for duplication or overlapping. So, I mean, that's up to you all, I guess, on how that all gets parsed out.
I was going to say, I think that having a liaison for the community would be nice and important. I think that we would just have to collectively make certain that, you know, we know exactly what responsibilities and reporting and that.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe that should be one of the first assignments, is to lay out the plan.
100%.
Doesn't have to be a complicated thing, but
No.
roles and responsibilities.
We can set a weekly community committee meeting with finance
Yeah.
Somebody said to
Yeah,
me.
but we have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, don't know if it needs to be weekly, but
There's a lot of things going on in our community.
But, you know, if I may, somebody said to me just today or yesterday, I can't remember, about that, and they thought it would be a great idea to have somebody interact with the HOAs. But the question is, in what regard, I mean, what does that mean for staff? And is staff going to support that effort? Or how's that going to work?
I mean, I envisioned it as me bringing to them the big news from staff and from council, the decisions kind of, you know, because not everyone has the opportunity or the time to watch our meetings or has the time and opportunity, and well, they do have the opportunity, but they may not have the time to read through our minutes or to reach out for clarification. So I would be that person to sort of discuss the overview or the, you know, the summary of the discussions or the summary of the decisions, or, hey, if you have more questions or you weren't sure about this position, you can reach out to so-and-so and kind of be that extra connection. Does that make sense? Like the personal side of it. That was my intention.
Oh, yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. And, I mean, it's almost like what Ken did with the chief or Jake. We had them come to one of our HOA meetings, which we only do like 3 or 4 times a year.
Sure.
And that was really, I mean, that was probably the best meeting we've had in years.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't get anybody to come unless you have food and all kinds of stuff, but
Beverages.
beverages, thank you. But knowing that the chief was there, or the acting chief, and the mayor was there, was great, because then there was discussions for like an hour, hour and a half. It was
Yeah,
wonderful.
and receiving feedback would be a key role to that too, right? I would come back to you and in a report, present the feedback I received in those meetings, whether it's from the Rotary Club if I was able to make it for that month, the gardening club if I was able to make it for that month. given that, you know, I do work in the mornings now, so morning meetings for me may not be convenient, but I can attend afternoons or evenings. And again, like, I'm happy if Tracy Lynn wanted to participate in the Rotary Club 1 month, and, you know, because I believe you were a speaker at one, right? Like, okay, we got them covered. Like, there's no need for me to go again, and, I'll stay in touch with them, obviously, but our presence isn't necessarily missing that month, if you will. So,
My only concern would be making sure it's coordinated.
sure.
So the question for the vice is, should that kind of all bubble up through you? Would that make sense that it's all through you and Emily, I think? All of that outreach. I mean, you're.
As far as coordinating who goes where, what, yeah, well, yeah, communication's gonna be key,
Right.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, I'm
Same,
good with
the
that.
messaging has to be
Right,
consistent.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Bob, any thoughts? Oh, boy. Never mind.
No, this is like Haymarket Day with me. Don't come to me unless you got a problem.
There you go.
I got nothing to say.
It's okay.
I have my lane that I stay in. That's not my lane.
I think we got some good feedback on this. Councilman Morris, you have anything?
No, I've already stated it. I think I like it. I like the idea. I just, my big concern is just the
The
potential
duplication?
loss of communication between the two liaisons. Does that make sense? So,
So do you think in order to avoid that, a standard meeting would ease that concern?
not necessarily a
or-
meeting, it's just maybe just tag teaming on what the vice mayor already has planned. And then from that, basically you attending, if you're appointed, you attending, and then branch out to the community, because I do see the need for that.
Okay. So we'll put that on the agenda for next week for appointment, and that'll give citizens any time to come in and give feedback.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that handles all the agenda items. I don't think we have any need for a closed session this time, just to make sure by the,
Did you want to talk about how your meeting went today, or you want to wait until Monday?
we'll see how prepared Emily is on it. I think she took more notes than I did, and she was more familiar with the people there, but I did instigate trouble.
Did you get it?
I'm certainly, we can talk about it right now if you'd like.
Go for it.
So this morning, I guess, midday, Mayor and I met with Chairwoman Wheeler and 3 of her top staff members at the county level. The meeting went very well. Our main goal was to open lines of communication and better understand what services they offer and how we can expand on those and make sure that our residents know about them, but also so that we as staff and council know exactly what's being offered and where they can assist us better, and vice versa if it were to be applicable. So we talked through what services are offered under their base taxes. We did highlight some items that we had more of an interest in wanting to learn more about, to include stormwater tax as well as trash tax, and if our residents were allowed to go to the dump with solid waste taxing. So we're going to get some answers to those questions, see if there's any different opportunities there in the years to come. Mainly we'll be in touch with the Public Works Department regarding some of that information. We also discussed through some of the different IT opportunities they have. They have their larger county website. Is there something that we can do to have more of a presence either on the website or a separate entity of it? In the short term, the takeaway is they have a lot of resourceful links and areas that our residents, our businesses, community groups, staff, council can go and get information, learn more. So we will do our best to integrate some of that into our website. That will take some time, but it certainly is a more of a low-hanging fruit that we can work towards. So we went through that to include some of the new grant opportunities for the ARPA funding that they have available. The one that's going to be the most current and upcoming is for the Restore Retail Program, and that is for businesses. We clarified that all of our town businesses that meet their criteria would be available or would be allowed to apply for the grant. The website states that they must have a Prince William County business license, so we clarified that a Town of Haymarket one would suffice. That is something, we have a speaker coming to our March roundtable meeting to speak directly to that program. So we took the time to discuss some of the different ARPA funding ideas. They have not completely nailed down what they want to do yet, same as us. We're still working through that, but we did discuss some areas that we could spend our money. We also requested some assistance on our mapping. Our town map needs to be updated, so we've requested some general assistance from some of their departments on just getting contacts and being able to make those updates, get a 1 mile review map. We recognized areas in which we don't necessarily have the resource, such as GIS, and we put in the request, so we'll see what happens. We did also talk about transportation in some length. The Quiet Zone application was applied for in December of 2021. It was submitted, and there is a 90-day response period, so we will follow up with Rick Canizales and his department and get more details on the application that was submitted and who it was submitted to. So I will work on that. We discussed the different sidewalk connectors along Jefferson Street, but also on Washington Street, and how we can have better connections into the county sidewalk or shared use path networks. And then we had some other general conversations just on different ideas they had. They did recommend we look into the COG membership. I mentioned this at one of our last meetings. So we'll explore more, we'll research what that's all about, where we can have grant funding opportunities or share or ride on other contracts that they may already have. So all in all, it was a very productive meeting. I think it's just the start of a new kind of relationship with the county, and that we had a good conversation, and it was certainly nice to have 3 of the staff heads there as well to really talk through different items with us.
Who was there?
We had I forget the exact titles. We had Nikki Brown from the Emergency Government Liaison Office. We had Elijah, who is the county exec, and then we had a gentleman, his name was Dan, and I forget his title and department, but I will get that for you guys.
He's in budget, I think.
Yes, I know, he knows the numbers. He was in budget, so I don't recall his last name. Yes.
Did the mayor bring up his personal issue with stormwater at the back of his house?
Stormwater was discussed.
But did the mayor bring it up at his house and behind his?
An example was used
Oh.
regarding stormwater in that development.
But who raised the issue?
The mayor discussed stormwater.
The issue I brought up is that the complexities of it, because we know that I got a pipe in front and the swale in back. The pipe in front, we think, is part of VDOT responsibility, and so we were laying out of, there's a lot of
Did the mayor
complexities.
attend as a citizen or as the mayor?
He attended as the mayor, but I will say, in the discussion, it was stormwater in general. We did talk through some of our different problem children areas, I like to call them, and Mayor gave an example of a location.
I did not raise a complaint,
He did
though.
not raise a complaint.
It wasn't a personal.
It was not, full transparency, it was not a personal complaint, it was an example.
He knows of a resident. Her name is Sue.
Susie.
Oh.
Marshawn.
Is there a plan for a future meeting or coordination meeting?
Yes, we are gonna plan to have a quarterly meeting.
Do you want to at some point talk about the permit process, the building permit process? I'm getting feedback across the board, not just the usual suspects, but both for new construction and adaptive reuse, just construction, just the length of the permitting process. COVID seemed to be the impetus for a lot of that, but it's just.
The town applied for a permit and it was frustrating.
Yeah.
Delayed.
It took me the better part of 3 months. I'm full transparency. Louisville needs
And we're still working on it.
So when we talk
So
about,
that's still in the works?
Yes, I
Whoa.
just this past week was able to submit another document, but for somebody, and I'll put it out there, I don't know everything about building permitting, so for
Frustrating
someone
topic for
who
me.
doesn't know all the ins and outs of their language, it was more of a cumbersome process. I was able to finally submit it. I've not heard back yet if I got through quality control, but I've spent 3 months in quality control,
Yeah.
so I've had other things going on, but I was able to submit. It is frustrating.
so one of the biggest barriers,
Dave Sinclair.
Yes.
and we talked about this on Saturday too, is biggest barriers to redevelopment is the permitting process and just the cost. Some term we used to call it disappearing zero, where you can't get to a consensus on what's necessary to move forward, complete the process. So if we're able to have this as a regular meeting, if we can have that be a subject that's brought up, is how do we improve or streamline the building permit process? So
Yeah, well,
Would it help you, Emily, if you talk with someone in the building?
I called my contact who's right at the top, and I was sent back down. And one of the, I guess the employees there called and tried to work through it with me. We worked through some of the discussions, but I think what it kind of came down to is someone who's not a contractor and someone who doesn't work in this day to day isn't necessarily going to know the language, and so there's some of that language barrier of understanding what exactly the permit plans are that they need, how you exactly need to bookmark them. Telling somebody you need to bookmark a plan is a lot different than saying, I need you to bookmark a plan with this information. So there was a little bit of that gap there. Ultimately, with a lot of persistence, I was able to get the help I needed. Hopefully, I passed quality control.
yeah, and what's,
From there.
and what's going on with this is, for this application, it's pretty much a vendor-client type of relationship. What our meeting was trying to do is to get an executive level establishment for quarterly and a peer-to-peer contact level in which we can be peer-to-peer with them, in which it could be a lot more informal and more frequent. But the executive level talks to make sure that we're always on focus in their planning and everything would happen quarterly.
Yes, and they're going to have red phones. He's going to have a red phone, and they're going to have a
You
red
got,
phone.
you got to add, yeah, bat phones.
But
Diddle-diddle-doo.
Hey, as far as, can I just jump into something? You were saying that they resubmitted for the quiet zone, but we don't know what they submitted to or for, or, because the last thing I heard was that they were going to try to figure out order of magnitude costs associated with it before they did anything else.
So I'm going to reach out to Mr. Canizales and ask for
Okay.
more information. At this time, I do not know. It was something that maybe I was given the impression that Mr. Kuhn had worked on just before leaving, since it was submitted in December of 2021. But it also sounds like it could have been something that was completely done by the county with not much, input from the town. So I'll certainly follow up. There's more information there to be learned.
Okay. I'm just, never mind.
Leave it, Joe, leave it.
Marchand, I get your frustration because I'm getting the same sort of complaints and having the same sort of experiences with, you're talking county building permit, correct? And inspections? Yeah, I wasn't going to do this, but God damn it, you've got me up on my soapbox now.
take it back.
No, I mean, it's something that I think we need to address at a higher level with the county and perhaps with the head of development services, Wade Hugh. There is a growing frustration, not just amongst the businesses in town, but also some of the homeowners and generally residentially across the county and small business-wise across the county, where The feeling is that we're getting short shrift. There is no responsiveness. The delays are insane. The inspection process is, the word used the other day was game to generate more revenue through recurring inspections, and there is a purported backlog due to a shortage of staff, blah, 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 the usual excuses you hear. And I wouldn't make such a big deal of it, except that they just added 16 inspectors, 16 FTEs into the budget, but none of them will be addressing any of these concerns because they are all strictly appointed or strictly put in place for fast-track data center operation inspections. So it's not going to have any impact on, as far as I can tell, any real impact on reducing the inspection times, qualities, other issues countywide that everybody else is facing. So they're throwing money at one area, but the underlying inspection and permitting issues that will remain for everybody else. And I find that terribly frustrating.
And I don't disagree, but what I said earlier about the disappearing zero, fire inspections, and the
Yep,
hotel
same
had a
thing.
lot of problems with, and every
I
time.
heard
they
the
come-
fire inspection
yeah, every time they
story
come back
yesterday.
out, the owner has to pay the fee.
Yeah.
The ADA Act's accessibility standards where state or nationwide recognition on ADA shower standards were not,
Grab bars?
exactly, were
Yeah.
not agreeable to the county inspectors, and that created multiple delays. And then,
Even though they're in compliance with the state code.
Exactly.
Yeah, I get, and I think that's a larger discussion that perhaps you and I should have with development services, because there's no continuity between expectation, the state code, and what the county inspectors are requiring in some cases. And while the business may be somewhat powerless to deal with the building inspection personnel, I would suggest that we as a council and we as a town government are not.
Gotcha. Well, and talk about barriers to development.
Yeah.
That's just new construction. What we're hearing, again, as the ARB liaison, is adaptive reuse of these buildings makes it even
Yeah.
exponentially more difficult to reuse these buildings, trying to apply a new building code standard to a old building. And those costs go up quickly, and so people are saying, hey, we can't afford, a small investor can't afford a new building, yet alone adaptively use an old building with the delays and the recurring fees and
I should show you the fees and bills for somebody that wants to put a solar panel in their yard or on their house. I mean, it's ridiculous. And if there's no objection, Marchant, I would offer that we need to probably sit down and come up with a master list of some of these issues, and then we need to sit down on behalf of the council with the head of development services and go, look, you know, this isn't a complaint from one homeowner or one business. You know, we have a laundry list of recurring complaints that we're getting that don't seem to be getting addressed, both within the town and without the town. And
I'd be
sort
part of
of
that.
perhaps force the issue a little bit.
Sure.
Do you think you guys would be as successful as perhaps the chair taking it?
The chair of,
The chair of the Board of County Supervisors?
no,
That-
I think it.
She's got more juice, but the question is, can she explain it in terms that Wade Hughes going to understand?
Yeah, you have to go through building.
I'd rather go through staff first, and then if that doesn't work, then take it to the elected.
That's right.
official.
Give you,
I would need
I'm
your
just
help on the
thinking in the long
vocabulary
run,
for
you
that
got
too.
it.
So-
give you 3 months.
That's why I asked Emily if she wanted just the direct contact
Oh, of course,
for the,
of course,
for the,
yeah.
for the building services.
Yeah, without question, yeah.
I
I
mean-
could, Chris should be there just because he knows the vocabulary,
That works for me.
and Emily, obviously, with what you're dealing with. I assume you're talking about the canopy, the situation you're having to deal with.
But I'm telling you, the canopy, you're gonna need special inspection. That's a different department.
We can discuss that offline.
Is that from the sailing ship department because of the size of the sail we bought?
Oh, just the welding.
I think
You have to
they're more-
inspect all the wells.
Yeah.
Yeah, to belabor the point, when all these fast food restaurants come online and they're blowing up the town staff phone, we can't get occupancy.
Yeah.
You know, the hotel had its own issues, but now you got
I'm
multiple.
sure you got the same litany of complaints that I got.
Yeah, you're gonna get multiple tenants, you know, blowing up their phone.
I
trying
think
to
it's a good start, Bob, with you and
Okay.
Marcia, on at least starting to put the complaints, the general, the frequently asked or frequently complained issues together. And let me know, I could probably point you in the right direction, who's the best person there.
Yeah, let's try to hit it at the staff level first. and
Yeah, I'd
work
rather
it
have
up.
the staff level before
That
bringing
gives you
elected
3 months
officials into it.
before I start to reach back out to Ann and having a meeting with her.
All right, when you get no response, then it'll go to you. Okay.
Okay, and I guess just formally, with no objections from county, you can represent this concern as a
Generalized
town.
concerns, yes.
As a town. Good?
Professionally.
Okay,
You'll be okay, good. Okay, Marshawn is there. Oh, I don't have to worry, Marshawn is there.
okay, any more questions?
Flamethrower inspected every year.
Do we have to make a motion?
Any more questions on our meeting today? Okay, thank you for the information, Emily. And we are not going into closed session, so that just leaves the next agenda item.
Move to adjourn.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Let's close her up. That's one here, first one up.